Hey guys, SerpentX here, and Nvidia on August 20th, 2018, yesterday, according to the time we're recording this video, released their 2000 series GPU. Now, this 2000 series GPU has a bunch of benefits, and number one thing that everybody keeps saying is ray tracing. I wanted to talk to you more or less about the overall dynamics of it, so let's dive right in. But if you want more details, I would highly recommend checking out some of the other tech tubers. Now, it's called Geforce RTX, which I'm sure you're aware of by now. And right now on sale is the Geforce RTX 2080 Ti and the 2080. Of course, the pricing is redunculous, but there's a couple things here in the presentation that I will go over, or yesterday's presentation that I will go over. Right off the bat, you can see that the Founders Edition is a not a blower style card, so it's a dual fan card. Why? Well, a couple reasons that I can speculate on. The GPU die is huge. It draws in a pretty decent amount of TDP, and probably with overclocking, it's probably going to draw more than that. We can't confirm that until we actually get some testing done, but I would highly recommend checking out the Bower or Gamers Nexus, because they'll probably have more sound metrics for that because they have better testing methodologies than myself. But I'm pretty sure with overclocking these GPUs, you're going to get higher TDP, and the temperature, from what I read, max is 89°C, so you want to stay away from that area, and so you need a dual fan setup. Also, the 1080 Ti didn't come out to a year or about 6 to 8 months after the 1080. The 980 Ti didn't come out to about 6 to 8 months after the 980. Well, the 2080 Ti came out yesterday along with its sister, the 2080. Speculation on why. Speculation is AMD is working on 7 nanometer. Maybe Nvidia's got 7 nanometer that they're going to be drawing down the pipeline next year. The fact that AMD has no competition right now, or Team Red has the Vega graphics but can only be on par or close to the 1080 and 1070. Since there's no competition, Nvidia can raise the prices and release these cards now and grab a big chunk of market share to end out the 2018 year. And with no competition, the prices are going to remain high. So we really need Team Red to get back in the game in order to get the pricing equalized. The benefit, however, though, is because the 2000 series is out now, you can probably grab a 10,000 series for a whole lot cheaper. A partner of mine grabbed a 1080. Not a Ti, just a regular 1080 for around $340 yesterday, and pricing might continue to get better or improve, so if you want to take advantage of that, I will recommend it. However, I do not recommend, or I caution you on buying a 2080 series card or a 2000 series card at this present moment until we get some actual testing done. Of course, the 2070 is not available yet, but you can be notified when it comes. Sorry, I had a burp there. Anyways, ray tracing. I'm actually kind of sick of it. Ray tracing is a feature that is currently implemented on your current GPUs, but only at the software level, and these new GPUs will be doing it at a hardware level. What does that mean for you? Well, what that means is that future games are going to be using or implementing these ray tracing features into their games because the card now supports it. So you're basically investing into something that's going to be coming later on. You're investing with the reliance on the gaming community and the developers to build the games that can utilize the hardware that you're going to be getting. So if you get these GPUs now, your current games will play just fine, probably a little bit better, but the real implementation or real benefits may come a little bit later down the line. I believe Battlefield's got an open beta on September, like around September, the beginning of September. So open beta should be for that, and then later on down the pipeline, Battlefield 5 will come out. And there was a lot of demos out that showed some pretty spectacular graphics, but we don't have any FPS, we don't have any information. All of that was withheld, so we won't really know until these reviewers, Gamers Nexus, Paul's Hardware, Kyle from Bitwit, Hardware Canucks, basically put out a review with some sound metrics. Right now, I basically, even though I'm gonna call myself out, I was a hypocrite, because yesterday during the presentation, this page came up, but the presentation was about 20 minutes late. So when this page came up, I immediately hopped on it and I grabbed a EVGA GeForce RTX 2080 at 749 because I knew that guy was going to sell out. Zotac didn't have their card out that time, but that's also 749 and it's available for pre-order, but it's got a blower style card. Now I'm not saying that won't work, but with the GPU size, the TDP and all that stuff, I don't think that would be sufficient cooling. Unless you're planning on putting a water block on it, which I'm sure EK Water Blocks is in the works on that. But all the GPUs, or most of the GPUs, at least the 2080 Ti's, are sold out as of right now. So you're looking at paying anything between $1,200 to $1,300 for 1080 Ti, or excuse me, 2080 Ti, and then the 2080 is some of them are available, some of them are not. So you just have to shop around if you're really going to do that. But again, I would advise caution. Make a conscious buy. Don't make an impulsive buy, please. Get the facts before you do that. The reason I bought it is because I got a couple things coming down for you guys. So if you subscribe or like or just keep an eye on my channel, I'm going to be benchmarking a couple things that might be a little bit different than the norm. Now I'm not sure, or I personally don't know, so let me know in the comments below if you know anybody that does benchmarks for deep learning. Because these cards right now, the 2000 series cards, it's not just about ray tracing. It's got other implementations that we can take advantage of. For example, in the deep learning sector, we can see that the 1080 Ti had no tensor cores. The Volta has 640, but the 1080 Ti and the 10 series have no tensor cores. And if we look at another chart from PCPer, again Volta 640, the 2080 RTX 2080 has 384 tensor cores, and the RTX 2080 Ti has 576, basically the same amount as the RTX, the Quadro RTX 6000. Again, 1080 Ti, Vega, 1080 don't have any tensor cores whatsoever. Another metric that we can't really compare anything to is gigaarrays. So because this is a new technology or new hardware implementation, we can't take the 10 series and compare the metrics from one to the other because there's just nothing to compare. So we can't compare tensor core performance. We can't compare gigaarrays performance. So you really got to wait for the reviews to actually find out. Because ray tracing is basically boosting the overall light, so shadows, soft shadows, light refraction, refraction, all that stuff. All of that stuff is gonna hamper or put a performance impact on your GPUs or gaming performance. So we gotta take that into consideration. We don't know what the FPS might be. It might be better. It's definitely going to be better, but how much better is the question, or how much more performance we're going to get over the 10 series, and that's what we're really waiting to hear for. We haven't heard anything about that. When they did their demos yesterday, there was no FPS, no counters, no nothing. Anyway, so if you keep an eye on my channel or you subscribe, I will be trying to coordinate a benchmark of the 2080 on the deep learning sector, and other benchmarks I will be doing is the same as the other tech tubers, so gaming benchmarks, synthetic benchmarks, to try to get that information out as well, comparing it against the 1080 Ti, and then whatever numbers I get from my partner about his 1080. So I'm going to compare the 2080 to the 1080 Ti to see where it sits in certain games, applications, metrics, and possibly deep learning. Well, deep learning the 1080 Ti can't do much with, which is why people bought the Titan. Because even though you had a 1080 Ti that's basically on par, and if not better in gaming than the Titan, it wasn't good at neural networks or deep learning. But these tensor cores that are in these 2000 series is basically going to be helping out using deep learning super sampling, a technology that applies deep learning and AI rendering to techniques resulting in crisp, smooth edges on rendered objects in games. And such games that are already out, like PlayerUnknown Battleground, and you can see the list here, should help smooth that out. So the performance, and I'm sure with driver implementation, should increase because we have the option of DLSS. And as more games use or adopt it, it should get even better. And then, of course, we saw the list for ray tracing and the games that are going to be supporting it. But what does that mean in performance? We have to wait and find out. Now, with all that said, let me just run through my list one more time. So, deep learning benchmarks. I'm intrigued by that. I need somebody's help with that. If not, they can, you know, if you know somebody that does testing of deep learning or benchmarks of deep learning and they try out different hardware, I would like to collab with them on that. So deep learning, graphic performance, synthetic performance, overall, you know, power draw, TDP, all that good stuff. Overclocking, because the Founders Edition is supposed to be a bin GPU. But if you look at Dimitri's video that he just recently let out, you can see that the Founders Edition for the 28 Ti has a boost clock of 1635, while the reference has the A1545. However, look at the TDP. The TDP is increased to 260 versus 250. So I'm sure with a reference design, the average overclocker can just simply install their card, get the drivers, get MSI Afterburner, EVGA precision, all that stuff, and overclock the card to on par or equal to the Founders Edition. I'm not sure what the bin GPUs provide as far as performance, cooling, TDP, power draw, all that. I don't know. We won't know until you test that out. But I got a reference card, and I'm going to overclock it to see where it sits compared to a Founders Edition. And we'll go from there. The 2080, same thing. So it has an 1800 megahertz boost clock with a 225 watt TDP, but the reference has 1710 with a 215 watt power draw. So keeping that in mind, also the other benchmark that I'm going to do that I'm sure a lot of people do not like or has frowned upon is cryptocurrency. Right now cryptocurrency is gone to crap. I'm barely making $2 a day with all my cards, and I don't even have a full system. I'm not a mining farm, so don't hate on me. I'm just a gamer with a bunch of cards that I just took and used for mining. Anyways, point being, it's not profitable. It sucks. It is somewhat profitable, but not enough to, you know, you're covering the cost of electricity and making a few, you know, maybe $1 or $1.50 a day. So it's, in my eyes, not as great as it once was. So a lot of people have frowned. A lot of people are selling their GPUs, so you could probably pick up a 10 series for really cheap. Even though it's used, don't back away from it just because it was used for mining. A lot of the people who did mining on a regular were keeping those cards under temp, well cooled, and never using the max power draw. So with that said, I'm going to be benchmarking the 2080 in crypto mining currency, especially with the GDDR6. I think it's going to be a welcome boost to performance. But besides those benchmarks and the crypto mining benchmark that I will be doing, I will be providing those metrics to you as soon as I have it. The last thing I want to leave you with is during the demo, just to show you the implementation or the impact that shadows and your card having to render all the lights and shadows can have on your system. I want to show that during the demo, and I'm going to let Dimitri talk, during the demo, look for the screen to stutter. And this is just him using a camera to record the screen that they're using. Doesn't mean much. It could mean it's something else in the system, you know, had a snafu or something like that. But I believe that even with the hardware implementation of ray tracing, there's going to be a huge performance impact with it, you know, on enabling shadows, lights, and all that stuff throughout the game. Even though it look really good, it may hurt the overall performance. So let me show you this.
Advantage in the game, but it's all about that visual experience. So it is, I would say, highly subjective. And that brings up an important concern because these tensor cores and RT cores occupy physical space on the die. So what?
And that worries me a bit, but we won't know until we actually test it. So it's coming. September 20th is when the pre-orders will, I believe, be sent out. I don't think they're being sent out before that. Before that time, we should have reviews from all the popular tech tubers. Keep an eye on their channel. Research, look at articles, all that good stuff. Try to get your metrics right before you make this investment. It is definitely an investment for the future because the technology that's in these GPUs are basically designed to or relying on these game developers to utilize that hardware. I'm sure they will. Nvidia partners have been doing really good, or Nvidia's been doing really good with their partners and trying to get game developers to you know, support their technology or implement and use the technology. So we should be just fine with that. I'll leave you with the pricing chart here. There's a few cards still available between Amazon and Newegg if you are interested in buying, but I would highly advise you not to until later. Anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below, and we'll see you next time.